What's up guys, my name is Lex Veldhuis and welcome to another edition of Learn with Lex. Right, and we're continuing our tournament here. We're getting pretty short, but I really wanted to keep showing this tournament to you guys. We could go towards the bubble here. The 78 people remaining, 71 will finish in the money. We're actually going to see some bubble play. I saw quite some comments that were requesting it or said it would be nice if that stage would pass along. Hopefully we'll get to some situations, but guaranteed we're going to see some short stack play. And there is the first little banger. How pretty you are, Ace King, one of the best hands that we could possibly get. From this stack, there's no slow playing anymore. If somebody opens before us, we're gonna raise. What's really important now, though, is we don't want to just go all in. It's vital for us that somebody has Ace 8, Ace 9 and thinks, I'm gonna re-steal this and go all in against us. Because our hand is so strong and we dominate those hands so hard. So we don't want to push those out. We can definitely go all in with some ace combinations from this position, but Ace King would just be a waste. We're going to bet one big blind. It's a massive mistake when you get shorter to up your continuation bet size, right? To bet 3 would be such a waste. It's very easy for me over 3 streets, right? The flop, the turn, and the river, to get my whole stack in. I'm just gonna shove. If they have something like 4-5 that is very interested all of a sudden, I really don't want to give a free river card. I also think I can just give value. Should be easy pickings. And we just take it down there, which isn't always the worst thing. They're not gonna bet with completely nothing. We make a good little pot back there. Very important though to hammer that point home on the continuation bet size, right? So if you raise before the flop, your bet on the flop is called a continuation bet, right? You continue your aggression from before the flop. And here we only need to bet one big blind because look, when they call, there's 7,000 in the pot. If I just bet 4,000 on the turn and they call, that means 8,000 added. The pot will be 15, I have 10,000 left. So there's a very easy way to all in for me, even if I only bet this low. This is also a really nice size to bluff with because what if they have Jack 10, Jack 9, Queen Jack, King Jack? All those hands are just going to fold for one big blind. So really nice to introduce one big blind, and it works for bluffs and it works for value as well because you can really start building a pot. So you oftentimes want to figure out bet sizing that works for both your good hands and also for your bad hands. So I hope that's valuable for you. All right, so we have 8-9 offsuit here. We are just in the money. We have 20 big blinds. It's a min raise, but we're getting 6-1. We have a connected hand. It's going to flop middle or top pair a lot, and it's more unlikely to be dominated. Of course, we're just going to get out, but I think it's really important, though, to show that you should come along with connected hands like this, even when it's multi-way to the flop. Ace 10, 15 big blinds. This is definitely too much to shove. With only 7 people at the table, though, if we had 14 big blinds, I would go all in, but we can definitely still play the hand, so we're just going to come in for a raise. And this goes back to the points that I'm making in these videos a lot, is that you can still raise when you're relatively short. Now, when you raise and you're relatively short, it's going to look pretty strong. So when somebody re-raises you, you have to really think about it, right? Like this person doesn't have King 9 and doesn't think like, oh, let's go. Because when you raise from this stack, a lot of people are going to assume that you're going to go for the hand anyway. So I expect this person to be strong. We'll see, of course. And there we made a good fold. Would have made a good fold, even if they weren't in. So that's good news. And we can just go on. And 13 big blinds is absolutely fine to still grind with. I know a lot of you guys think that you're pretty much out or your tournament's over when you get to that stage, but it's absolutely not true. You can still defend big blinds. You can still go all in with fold equity, meaning there's a big chance that somebody will still fold as well. I'm going to call and see a flop. And this is always a bit of a problem because the shorter I get, the more I'm going to shove all in with hands with an ace in it. So this player is, even if it's low level, is probably going to be subconsciously aware. I mean, for sure I don't have ace queen, ace king, ace 10, ace jack, right? So it's a big problem for me to call with a speculative hand on that board because it's very likely that they're going to push me off on a turn and I won't get the opportunity to bluff myself. So I'm just going to fold there. Obviously their continuation bet was rather big, but 11 big blinds still fine. There will be a spot. We're just going to bide our moment. Back from break. We have 10 big blinds. This hand's definitely good enough to go all in. This is very easy to research online and learn something from it. They're just not going to have enough hands to call with. Even if they do call, we have 40% here. And that is a very nice run out, and we have 20 big blinds. So, I mean, look at that hand, right? Like, you think like, oh, queen 7 versus ace 8. But we're suited, we're not dominated. We have 40%. That means that 40 out of 100 times we're winning that hand. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of folds. I want to be very careful about shoving hands that can be dominated, of course, but you only have to go through one player. So when you get down to 10 big blinds, you're going to have to go all in versus the big blind a lot. I actually did a community post about this as well. There's lots of community posts with little quiz questions that I'm doing lately. So definitely suggest you check those out. We did one there with like 7-5 offsuit, 9-deuce suited, and 5-4 suited. And 5-4 suited was the correct answer. Just because it has a lot of value when it gets called, or equity as people say. So if you have 5-4 suited, you get called by ace king, you have 40% chance to win. That's insane against a hand as strong as ace king. Couldn't be better this flop. Again, once we start deciding we're gonna continuation bet, we check three things. We check our positions, we check how it matches up versus the board, and how deep we are. We are pretty shallow, we have 18 big blinds, so we don't have to bet big at all, regardless of the fact if there's a flush draw or a straight draw here. We just have less to protect against. The deeper you are, the more taxing draws comes into play. So we're just gonna set ourselves up for a nice river shove here. We're gonna bet 4.5. 4.5 big blinds, and you can see that if they call, it's going to be 17.5 big blinds, and we would have had 11 big blinds to bet all in on the river. Really nice, without making it too cheap as well. Okay, so we have queen jack in the small blinds. I'm actually just going to call. Man, I'm explaining too much. My time bank's gone, because it's a turbo. Sometimes in a different table. I record multiple of these videos at the same time, so sometimes I'm on a different table explaining something and I want to show you guys the action, so I want to show you guys the actual click, but I don't have a time bank because whenever that happens on this table, my time bank's gone. Anyway, I just wanted to call because and I was gonna call all-ins because I wanted to keep all of their weaker jack and queen X in and not shove them out. Also, my hand plays extremely well after the flop. So I was small blind, he was big blind, but it's a button bug. So I wanted to call. If they go all in for 9 big blinds, then I would have just called. Because they're going to shove some like jack 3 suited or some queen 4 offsuit, that sort of thing, so I can easy call. Also, if they shove a hand like ace 8, I'll still have 40%. So, but also when they check all of those weak jack X and queen high hands, I'm going to flop top or middle pairs that dominate my opponents. So that's why this hand plays really well as a call. So I hope that it teaches you guys something anyway. Alright, to avoid timing out, I already clicked it. We're going to go all in with king 9 and we flop dead, which is unfortunate. Yeah! Which is unfortunate, but they have 9 big blinds. Very easy for us to get the money in. I'm also fine with limp calling there with king 9, but it's also... I think a hand like queen jack plays a little bit better after the flop. That's why I wanted to limp that one earlier. But we go all in, pretty standard. Unlucky that they have an ace. I mean, we have a pretty strong king high. They have an ace. And this is definitely also one of those situations where you shouldn't start thinking to yourself, oh, but what if I had called, you know, now that we know that we lost, what if we had called and they would have gone all in? Would we be able to get away? No, don't do that. You made a good move. Okay, that you made a good move. Don't start beating yourself up beyond that. It's absolutely pointless. All right, so again, what we discuss a lot in these series, there's a limper. So we cut out the bottom of the hands that we want to play. That definitely includes this one. 9 big blinds isn't also going to be a force of nature that's going to make them fold a lot. So what we're pretty much doing is forcing ourselves into a showdown that we really don't want to do. So over here we have a monster of a hand, 9 big blinds, super happy here. 44 people remaining. We're just going to go all in. There's no other option. We don't really want to min raise. Hand is not strong enough for that, because what if we make it 2 big blinds and the big blind has jack 10 and thinks, cool, I call, and that's a disaster. Don't want that happening. And we just take it down, which is absolutely fine. You can make a lot of money in poker by your opponents folding to all-ins. 10 big blinds with deuces. Any pair would be an all-in here. So we're just going to go all-in. Again, if somebody ends up having a hand like pocket 9s here, we don't want to start thinking backward and think, how could we have gotten away from this? We know this is a good move, so whatever happens after is fine. 12 big blinds. Nice. We're going to get the blinds soon. But at least we upgraded a little bit. Always nice to get those all-ins through. Not gonna mess around. We can still definitely defend a lot of hands when we're short in the big blinds. One of the nice things that people in short stack situations really don't get is that it's really easy to play your hands after the flop because you're only gonna have 8, 10, 9 big blinds. So let's say you have 40 big blinds, right? You have 40 big blinds and the flop is queen high and you have queen 5. Now that's pretty tough because if somebody has ace queen, they can punish you for 40 big blinds. But if you have 9 big blinds, who fucking cares? The max you can lose is 9 big blinds. There's going to be 2 streets of action and you're just going to click call or raise. So playing short stack actually is very relaxing in a lot of ways. And this is something that people highly underestimate. So immediately into the next hand, if everybody folds, I'm going to go all in with this hand. The hand is just good enough. So there's 2.3 big blinds out there. Look at this, 42%. Boom. So 42% against a suited ace there. Obviously not against every suited ace we're going to have 42%, but it just illustrates that even when you get called, you have a decent chance. Now, we don't want to get our money in with 40% over and over, but you have to understand that people also are going to throw their hands away. And when they throw it away, we win 2.3 big blinds, and we win another 2.3 big blinds, and we win another 2.3 big blinds. And that's a huge part of the success of the move. And you can't just think, oh, well, we got called, right? No, but what happens when we don't get called? And then when we do get called, there are situations where we have 40%. Seems like a good deal to me. But all of that is prep work, so you really want to make sure that you prep those situations and you just learn and study, right? There's so much available. If you go to bbcpoker.com, they have all these kind of ranges, shoving ranges, everything, opening ranges, and you just want to study those so you can apply them in your tournaments. All of this applies live as well. This is a question I get a lot. Poker's not different when you play live. There's some more human emotion involved. You might have a tell here or there. But generally speaking, the poker structure and the strategy is exactly the same. Alright, so we have King Jack, we open, and the blinds come along both. Obviously really strong hand to open, we have a little bit more breathing space. I think I'm just going to check back. I think this board interacts pretty well with them as well. Of course, the big blind is going to have a lot of 9-8, Jack-9, Queen-9, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to check back and see what happens on the turn. If I hit any of my cards, then I'm most likely going to be good. But I have a really big chance to improve, and I definitely don't want somebody to prevent me from seeing those cards. The downside of being raised, right? Let's say I bet the flop and I get raised. The downside of being raised off your hand, the bigger that is, the less you should bet. So if I have, let's say I have a hand like, you know, like this, and somebody raises, I don't get to see a possible king, jack, queen, second club. That's a disaster, right? And then you have to assess how big is the chance that I am going to get raised. And my assessment was, on this board, it's pretty high. Because I'm against a big blind and a small blind. And both of those ranges have a lot of hands that hit on that board, right? And again, when we say range, we mean group of hands. So there you see, you constantly try to assess, what's the board? How does it interact with my hand? How does it interact with my position? How does it interact with my opponent's decision? What would be the impact of my of the move I choose to make, right? You might think, oh, okay, I'm gonna steal this one, and you get raised, and you're like, oh, okay, I fold. But the implications there are that there are much better hands to bluff with, because then if somebody raises, you're like, who gives a fuck? I don't have that much anyway. Do not go all in with hands this strong from the button. We really want to keep their weak hands in. So we're gonna raise, give some of these people the option to re-steal, and we're just gonna snap them off if they do. This just became a whole lot more appetizing, and we're not gonna go anywhere anymore with this hand. Not the best card. I would think that they would re-raise me from the small blind when they have an ace in their hand most of the time. I'm still gonna check. I don't like. I mean, there is a lot of like King 10, Queen 10, Jack 10, that sort of stuff. The one problem with checking, of course, is that people immediately are gonna get a red flag in front of their eyes to start betting. We're just gonna fold now. The queen doesn't make things any better here, so let's just be disciplined and get out. Okay, we're short, but we're not out. We can go along here. We had to call 1.5 big blinds before the flop, but this is what I mean. When you're short, you can still have maneuverability, especially from the big blinds. You can call. It's very easy to play. I don't have to ever consider folding this. So I can just call along. We're absolutely fine. We have the best hand by far. That is brutal. We win the side pot that nobody gives a shit about. So we actually get sort of bad beat it there, and we had a really fantastic spot. So we stay patient. We get to the flop with Jack 10. You know, like let's just call this before I time out again like a noob. Who knows? So this is what we're playing for. It's always the left one. Oh no. Oh no! No! Fuck. Oh yeah, we're good. So good run there. We got pretty deep. So this is just to reiterate a point. So you see here, this is 1.5 times the big blind. I have 10 big blinds total, so 9 big blinds behind. And a lot of people think the shorter they get, the tighter they have to play, the harder they have to wait for good hands. But it's very easy for me to come along here because I only have 7 big blinds behind. So what is my biggest mistake gonna be, you know? When you're 50 big blinds deep, somebody can have ace-jack and you get insanely punished for having weaker hands from the big blind. But nothing can happen here, really. They're just gonna jam, you're just gonna call because you have a good hand and you just let it play out. And the shorter you are, the less you should beat yourself up over mistakes because the impact of a 9 big blind pot is just not that big. So I really hope that you guys realize this and do with it what you will. But yeah, really nice spot. We didn't get it through. Very unfortunate, but yeah. I think one of the big themes from this tournament, especially over these past recordings, is the fact that we should always just wait. And when we do get in a situation where it's like, oh, too bad he has a hand like that, that we don't start reasoning from, you know, from the back to the front and think, oh, we should have done this, or how can we avoid this? You know, sometimes shit happens, and we got our hand in amazingly at the end there. Realize that if we win that pot, we have 30 big blinds again. Anyways, guys, if you want to talk poker, please check out my Discord. It's very friendly. You can ask anything you want. It's a nice poker community. I know a lot of you guys aren't used to talking poker to people online, but it has a lot of nice features. It has a forum where you can post about strategy hands. You can talk about the poker news as well, or you can just talk to people and you know, sweat people or show them what you won, or talk about your wins or that you're gonna grind. And it's just a nice place to communicate with other poker players. So please, you can find those links in the description. Please like, subscribe, and see you guys next time. I really appreciate all the positive feedback on these videos. Peace.